Hey, I just want to have a quick chat about toxicity. So, I did a little one yesterday on heavy metals, and I listened to another interview with a couple of really cool doctors who have been quite out there in the last year. It was Sasha Stone interviewing Dr. Judy Markovits, as well as some other guy who is one of the highest published. He's been publishing many documents, papers over the past year. So he's very well up on everything going on the testing processes, on the way that the world is sort of shifting and shimmying in the last 12 months, and all of the concerns about the long-term ramifications of everything, because people have been living in this fear and shame and blame, for 15 months, and it's been a more divisive process than well, certainly anything for a long time for me, and it's hard to stay away from it. So people who hate politics, they're hating this last year because everything's political, and the politics and the medical are so bound. There's all these people out there talking about things that are not their expertise, and yet people who do have 30 years in virology and epidemiology are being silenced if they're not following the political agenda that's going on in the background. But anyway, one of these doctors was talking about our interstitial fluid, which is what I really wanted to chat about. And he was saying that one of the main things with when we are unwell is about our acid alkalinity, which is sort of interesting because years and years and years ago, I sort of was writing this with clients for a long time. So basically, it's sort of something that I had thought about for a long time, but I suppose it's now just part of the way that I work. So I can't even remember the last time that I discussed it with anyone. But this is what I would write down for my clients. I'd say, so if your pH or acidity is out, that's going to affect your gut. If your gut isn't working properly, that's going to affect your liver. It can't detox properly. If your pH, your gut, and your liver are out of whack, your immune system isn't going to be able to stay on top of everything going on. And of course, by that stage, your poor little kidneys will be struggling. And of course, when we're talking about interstitial fluid, that's a sign that the lymph, that the kidneys, that your detox organs aren't able to detox. And he was saying, like, one of the interesting things that he threw out there was that, like I've always been taught, and I'm sure many people know this, that our skin's our biggest organ of detox. He said, no, it's not. He said, your interstitial fluid is. So around every single cell in your body, in my world, we always were taught that there's 6 lymph cells around every red blood cell. So there's more lymph in the body than there is blood. And so the lymphatic system, which is all about detoxification, if it gets overloaded, like for example, if someone gets diagnosed with cancer and then they find it in the lymph nodes and they go, oh my God, it's in the lymph nodes. Yes, that's what it's supposed to be doing. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, although it's a sign that your body hasn't been detoxing for a long time. So what they know about cancer, of course, is that our pH is out of whack. Cancer can't grow in an alkaline environment. I had an interesting client going back about 10, 15 years ago when I started doing frequency-specific microcurrent in my clinic. And she had breast cancer. And when I palpated the breast, it sort of felt like that's what she had it was like the top of Mount Everest. It was sharp, it was thorny, it was all pretty horrible. And she chose to go naturally. Not with me, actually. She bought herself a Thermomix and she went into a diet of juicing and fresh fruit and veggies, and 12 years later she died. So, yes, she did die. She never had any medical intervention, but she had a good life, and I was friends with her on Facebook, and she was just traveling all around the world enjoying herself. So she chose to allow, that disease process. She didn't actually reverse it, but nonetheless, 12 years. So but I remember with her, I actually did some microcurrent and I targeted that area of the body. And she was waking up in the morning, and the way you know whether or not your body is Oh no, I don't have any. But you can actually buy pH sticks, so you can pee on a stick in the morning and see what your pH of your body is, and then do something about it during the day. Now, yes, it will always be more acidic in the morning, but nonetheless, the more acidic it is, that's a sign that your kidney, your liver, your detox organs overnight are having to release heaps of acid from the day before. So we need to get our pH of our tongue and our pH of the urine about the same. If we're not drinking enough water, we're having too much coffee, we're having too much grains, we're having too much sugar, we're doing too many things in our diet that are pro-acid. Stress is acid forming. Running on fight and flight is acid forming. We've got too much lactic acid in the system, so that will mess with our energy pathways. So it was really interesting that he mentioned the interstitial fluid and he mentioned acidity, and it just sort of got my brain going, yeah, right, because that's something that I do every day of the week and twice on Sundays with people quite intuitively. Now, the sort of things, now just sort of thinking from a herbal and mineral perspective, when you're looking at things like chlorella, really good to have. It's sort of like sunshine in a bottle. Things like when you are using your oils, make sure you use really good quality oils like cold-pressed olive oil, cold-pressed macadamia, that type of thing, because they're good oils. When you are using vegetable oils, you're actually increasing the omega-6s in your body, which is pro-inflammatory. So really look at good quality oils and make sure there's omega-3s in your diet, whether it's through fish, whether it's through linseeds, so linseed, flaxseed, linseed, and sort of making sure that we're getting those things into our diet. There's lots of herbs, things like nettle leaf that is really alkalizing. There's green combinations, things like detox, glutagenics, but you can get lots and lots of greens to add to your green smoothies, to make sure that you are, and in your green smoothies, whether you're getting in rocket and kale and some lettuce leaves and that sort of thing, add some fresh pineapple, add some apple. So in those juices, you're getting lots of enzymes. Those enzymes are such a powerhouse for our cells. Our cells require enzymes, and so much of what we eat these days is denatured. No wonder our poor little bodies get so acidic. Our water is polluted, our soil is polluted, our air is polluted. So every single thing you can do to detoxify your water, your soil, your food, your air, it's only going to help your health long term. We're sort of fighting this universal battle against health. So it's like it's been weaponized against us. So it's not just one thing you have to do to get healthy. It's really about thinking, right, what is my acid produced thing in my life? Is it my stress? Is it my anxiety? Is it my fear? Because anytime we're fearful and anxious, we're going to make our bodies more acidic. Every time we then go to the foods for that, if your food of choice or your alcohol of choice, I drink too much when I'm stressed. I absolutely know that. So that will then make my body really acidic. So hubby and I have just started HCG again, so we're going to shift 5, 6, 7, 8 kilos or something in the next month or so. So that'll be a big detox. So we're doing Brock shots, the sulforaphane every morning to help that detoxification through the liver, to switch back on those anti-inflammatory genes, to switch back on those detoxing genes. So that's sort of our aim over the next month or so as well. I'm making sure we're drinking the 2 litres of water, purified water, with 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar in it every day. So that is actually pro-alkaline within the tissues of your body. So it helps to release deeper toxins from your body. So there's so many things that we can do that just help to clean out that interstitial fluid. I don't feel like doing it because, we've been enjoying ourselves for a few weeks since our holidays. So it's time where, I'm going to do a VLA today, which I don't particularly want to do, but I'm sort of curious where my fluid is going to be. And I suspect it'll be about 3.5 litres, something like that, because I can just feel it. My shoulder's playing up more, and it always plays up more when I've got a little bit of weight back on, so the BMI creeps up to 27 or so, obese is 30, and regular weight is under 25, so I'm guessing my BMI is around 27.5, something like that. And the higher the BMI creeps up, the more stress hormones our bodies are releasing all the time, and the more our body's more likely to go into fight and flight all the time, which once again is pro-acid. It's anti-detox. It switches on our genes that are not pro-health. So, doing whatever we need to do to just shift that excess fluid, shift that excess fat. And I'm not talking about diuretics. If you take diuretics to get rid of some of this excess fluid, then you can be a skinnier person in a more toxic body. And that was proven about 10, 12 years ago. They did a study where they did a 5-year study on obesity, and they looked, and this was grossly obese people, so people who were up around the 200 pounds or heavier. And they basically did a 5-year study and looked at people who maintained the weight, whether they lost weight with detoxing or whether they lost weight without detoxing. And the people who lost weight with detoxing, no surprise, it was a morbidity study. The people who lost weight with detoxing were the people most likely to be alive at the end of 5 years, because when we are grossly obese and when our BMIs are over 40, and unfortunately we're getting more and more of the population around the world getting to that point these days, it puts a massive amount of pressure on our detox organs. And one of the stats in the last few weeks that's come out is that 90% of the people who have died from the COVID-19 have been obese. Now, obesity is 20% more than normal. So, I'm aware that I'm overweight at the moment. I'm not quite obese, but if I put on the same amount of excess weight again, I would be obese. So what, you sort of have to think, well, so for me, just say my weight I should be is, say, 62 kilos, and just say I'm up around 68 at the moment, which I am. So once I hit that same number of weight again, say up around 72, 73 kilos, that's obese. So it doesn't take that much before that's putting this massive amount of pressure on the liver, the kidneys, the skin, the interstitial fluid to sop up toxins. We've got to get those acids out of our body. We've got to get pancreatic enzymes into our system. We've got to get, that pH balance. Buy yourself some pH sticks and start doing it. Increase your water until you start getting a healthy 7.2 pH when you wake up in the morning. If it's higher than that, then make sure you increase your water for the day. Make sure you increase your greens for the day. Make sure you do things that are going to be pro-detoxification. Infrared saunas, skin brushing, looking at things like your deep breathing. Your lymph system doesn't have its own... It doesn't have its own detox the lymph system doesn't have its own pump the way that the heart does. So we've got to do things. And one of the easy breathing things is breathe in for 5 and out for 7. In for 5 and out for 7. So that's creating like a pump that gets the lymph going, and it also helps to calm down the cortisol and resets the brain. Anyway, that's a few thoughts on interstitial fluid toxicity and acidity. So, where's your body sitting at the moment? What can you do that's nice and simple, cheap and easy to get going in your diet that's going to be pro-health, pro-life, pro-happiness? Let's get our body sovereignty happy, healthy and well. Okay, take care. Bye.